documentation of our program. Iya, Kak. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your kind joining us this morning in London time. We are in the sixth program in the third day of the International Young Scholar Symposium. And then thankfully, today we already have Prof. Mimi Fabe, Philippine National Police, ASEAN. We have Dr. Ajmal Sohail from Germany, and we have scientific committee of the program, Prof. Christian Kauner for this morning. And then we will have at least two presentations, and then hopefully Prof. Sida Sonsri from Thammasat University of Thailand could join us together, and then to enrich our perspective about the counter-terrorism in Asia and Europe. For the first speaker, I would like to invite Prof. Mimi Pabe to present her works, at least to extend our horizon about the topic, and in to deep our understanding about the issue. Thank you to Prof. Mimi, and time is yours.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ismail Suardi Weke and Professor Dr. Christian Kaunert of the University of South Wales for your kind invitation for me to partake in this International Young Scholar Symposium. Aloha from Honolulu, Hawaii, where I'm currently residing, and I would like to greet the distinguished professors as well as the students of this youth conference. My presentation is entitled Philippine Jihadist Actors and Their Impact to Regional Security. So the Muslims in the Philippines comprise a total of 13 ethno-linguistic groups. We have the Magindanaon, the Maranao, Tausug, Sama, Yakan, Jama Mapun, Kaagan, Iranun, Kolibugan, Sanggil, Molbog, Palawani, and Bajau. There are also Muslims among the indigenous peoples of Mindanao, like the Teduray, the Manobo, the Blaan, the Higaonun, Subanen, Tiboli, and others. So the Muslims who traditionally inhabited Mindanao, they're located in the islands of Basilan and Palawan, and the Sulu and Tawi-Tawi archipelago in the south of the Philippines identify themselves as Bangsamoro. For today, I would like to highlight two of the jihadi organizations, jihadist actors in the Philippines who recruit young people to join their organizations. Now, if we analyze the terrorism in the Philippines, ideology is deemed to be the main pull mechanism that makes possible the translation of discontent into specific political goals that attracts young people to join jihadi organizations. These young people are induced to embrace radical groups and commit acts that constitute terrorism, not only to adhere to fundamentalist notions of identity, but in reaction to experiences of political and economic exclusion. Furthermore, these young people are able to have access to arms and protection, in addition to financial security, that lures them to join such groups. Without other alternatives to employment, these young people can easily be exploited and bought by these jihadi organizations through tangible incentives in the form of money, arms, status in the hierarchy, sense of belonging, as well as other benefits. So the two jihadist groups that I will highlight for today is the Abu Sayyaf group and the Bangsamoro Islamic Freedom Fighters. The Abu Sayyaf group is currently the predominant jihadi group operating in Basilan, Sulu, and Tawi-Tawi. The objective of the Abu Sayyaf group is not only to dominate Mindanao, but the whole world as an achievable mandate given to them by God. Mere independence will not stop them from pursuing their mission, as they think this would displease God. They believe that the mission will be achieved through a global jihad. In a public proclamation to the entire Philippines, Abdul Jarak Janjalani declared that the creation of the Abu Sayyaf group was to serve as a bridge and balance between the Moro Islamic Liberation Front and the Moro National Liberation Front, whose revolutionary roles and leadership cannot be ignored, and that its ultimate goal is to establish a purely Islamic government whose nature, meaning, emblem, and objective are established. He also added that the advocacy of war is a necessity for as long as there exists oppression, injustice, capricious ambitions, and arbitrary claims imposed on Muslims, so as to achieve justice and righteousness for all. So the Abu Sayyaf group factions operate in the municipalities of Indanan, Talipao, Patikul, and Panamao. The second jihadi group that I will focus is the Bangsamoro Islamic Freedom Fighters. The Bangsamoro Islamic Freedom Fighters was founded by Amiril Umbrakato on December 8, 2010. The ideology of the Bangsamoro Islamic Freedom Fighters follows the global Islamist jihad narrative and uses violence as a tool, as can be seen in its training, operational, and recruitment videos circulated on social media. So the videos revealed that BIFF ideology is based on the Salafi jihadi structure, which is typical of Islamic State-related groups. The BIFF launched violent attacks against government security forces in Maguindanao, which resulted in many of the Filipino soldiers killed. So these two groups has been launching several terrorist attacks against the Philippine state, and now we look at the regional implications of the security threat that they pose, not only to the Philippine government, but also to the governments of the other ASEAN member states. So what are the commonalities of the jihadi groups operating in the Philippines, in Malaysia, and in Indonesia? So based on my studies, the commonalities are present in the following elements. The first is that there is joint training and sharing of training camps among the jihadi groups. So the Jemaah Islamiyah and the Abu Sayyaf group and the Bangsamoro Islamic Freedom Fighters, they share training camps. They also share resource persons who are ordnance experts or bomb making experts. The second point is that there is also strong kinship ties among these jihadi groups. Some of the Abu Sayyaf group members are related to members of the Bangsamoro Islamic Freedom Fighters by affinity and consanguinity. For example, many families in Sabah were formerly local residents of Basilan, Sulu, and Tawi-Tawi. However, after facing criminal charges for their jihadi activities, some families opted to stay permanently in Sabah. Of late, more women have been drawn into the active involvement in terror attacks. Female suicide bombers trained by the Abu Sayyaf group have successfully blown themselves up in the past. The intermarriages of women from jihadi groups also facilitate recruitment into these jihadi organizations as their husbands become radicalized and eventually join the movement. So many personalities in the Abu Sayyaf group as well as in the other jihadi groups are related by blood and through marriage ties. The third commonality is in the area of terrorism financing. We know that money is the lifeblood of terrorist operations and support activities. So, for example, among the jihadi groups, they share Hawala system, a system of virtual international cash transfers. The Bangsamoro Islamic Freedom Fighters make use of cigarette smuggling. Filipino jihadis sell weapons to Malaysian and Indonesian jihadis as a strategic source of income. The products of gun manufacturing facilities in Cebu and in other areas of the Philippines are known to be regularly smuggled into Indonesia and Malaysia. So these links are tied by terrorism financing. Another area is into weapons smuggling. Another related area is that they recruit child soldiers. This is evident during the Marawi siege, where the Islamic State funded jihadi organizations recruited thousands of child soldiers. Another area of commonality is the sharing of the Salafi jihadi ideology among the young recruits. And they also share foreign terrorist fighters who then eventually pass on their skills in bomb making, kidnapping, to the local members of the Philippine jihadi organizations. Moreover, there are also links with Afghanistan and Al-Qaeda. The most important factor among the Philippine jihadist actors is when the Taliban rose to leadership in Afghanistan. What is the primary impact to the Philippine jihadist actors? The primary impact is in the area of narco-terrorism. The Taliban has been supporting the Philippine jihadi groups through the supply of drugs, constant supply of drugs sent monthly from Afghanistan to these jihadi organizations in the Philippines. So the Philippine security authorities are currently monitoring these activities being done by them. And among the UN sanctions list, the Abu Sayyaf group is listed as one of the designated foreign terrorist organizations. And because of that, the Abu Sayyaf group was listed on the 6th of October 2001 pursuant to paragraph 8 of Resolution 1333 issued in 2000 as being associated with Al-Qaeda, Osama bin Laden, and the Taliban for participating in the financing, planning, facilitating, preparing, or perpetrating of acts or activities by and in conjunction with, under the name of, on behalf of, or in support of, or otherwise supporting acts and activities of Al Qaeda. Then we go to the response of the Philippine government authorities. The government of the Republic of the Philippines responds to the security threats posed by these jihadist actors constitute a whole of nation approach. So the first response of the Philippine government is international collaborations with other ASEAN member states. Primarily, with Malaysia and Indonesia, we have a trilateral cooperative agreement whereby we, the navies of the three countries, work together to prevent crimes and violence in the high seas. The second response of the Philippines is in the area of peace agreements and peace negotiations. So the Philippine government has already had this peace agreement with the Moro Islamic Liberation Front, resulting in the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region of Muslim Mindanao. Another area of intervention by the government is in legislation. The Anti-Terrorism Act of 2020, which penalizes material support for terrorism, was passed in order to curb violence and terrorism caused by jihadist groups as well as private armed groups. The second point is that the 1987 Philippine Constitution prohibits all types of private armed groups, including private armies, militias, and vigilante groups. The armed forces of the Philippines, as well as the Philippine National Police, track the leaders, location, and firepower of these private armed groups. Another response of the government is the creation of the Anti-Money Laundering Council that is tasked to monitor terrorism financing of all private armed groups and jihadi groups operating in the country. On the part of the Philippine National Police, they established the Salam Police Center as a way of engaging the local community, as a way of offering interactive partnership with the community, and to implement policing that is based on honor, service, and responsibility. Finally, the local government units in conflict areas try to address the factors related to terrorism and violence through the provision of social development, political development, ideological and religious dimensions, the issues of culture and identity, socio-political factors, socio-psychological factors, trauma and group dynamics, radical influencers, and social media. So the combined efforts of the National Security Council, the National Peace and Order Council, the Anti-Terrorism Council, the Justice Sector Coordinating Council, the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council, and the local government is meant to attain a comprehensive counterinsurgency strategy. Moreover, on the local level, the barangay protection auxiliary teams serves as the neighborhood watch and a force multiplier for law enforcement. These barangay protection auxiliary teams are armed volunteers tasked to secure their respective barangays from external security threats. Contemporary threats to peace remain, such as nonviolent extremism, the influence of foreign terrorist fighters, terrorism financing. Therefore, the government promotes counter narratives and they are also promoting deradicalization efforts and to give the youth the appropriate guidance. Lastly, there is also private and public partnerships on the local and national levels to counter these jihadi organizations, especially with regards to narco terrorism. Therefore, the government has also given economic grants to business enterprises and employment support in Muslim communities so that we are able to improve the lives of all these young people and to share with them the dividends of peace. With this, I end my presentation. Thank you, Dr. Ismael Weke, for your invitation.
Thank you, Prof. Mimi, for the kind presentation. Is gave us a broad horizon about jihadis in Philippines, and this is not only in the region of Philippines, in the nation of Philippines, but uh, uh, give or bring impact to the region of Southeast Asia, since Abu Sayyaf uh, uh, not only have um conflict between the people in the area of Philippines, but at the same times they kidnap the sailor fishermen from Indonesia. Hold on, if you have any kind of comment from the panels, we would like to invite Dr. Ajmal Sohail to present his presentations. And then thank you to Prof. Sida Sonsri already joined us together this morning in UK time, in London time. And we are in Southeast Asia already uh, in the evening. Uh, Without further ado, I would like to invite Dr. Ajmal Sohail, and thankfully for your kind joining us. Ajmal, time is yours.
So, hello, good morning from Munich, Germany. So, first of all, thank you very much, Dr. Professor Vicky, for inviting me for today's event. And of course, I find it interesting and in a time of the necessity to counter terrorism, or terrorism is a big issue. Since after the pullout of the American forces, and there's no any more interest for counterterrorism, so they have a lot of other priorities to focus on, and this is the time that we need to focus, and therefore the counterterrorism and counter-violent extremism is a real issue to be addressed. So let me, Doctor, first share my screen for today's. I would like to share. Okay, share my desktop. So, do you have my screen? System. Oh, system does not work. Okay, so.
Ajmal, you can go ahead.
So I'm still trying to share my
Yeah,
screen.
you can. Do you see over there in the green color share screen? You
Yeah,
can share screen
share.
over there.
So open. Oh, there is. So the system.
That is the green button under the one and share screen, and you can pick up your file, which one you want to share with us.
That's I'm trying, but it tells me that the system does not allow me to share
Yeah,
my.
I already make you as the co-host. It means that you are allowed to share with us the file from your computer.
Okay.
It is there
Okay.
is a green button over there, share screen.
So, my God. That does not work.
Yeah, but if you cannot share with us, it is no problem. Just yeah.
Yes, you have it.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. Again, so thank you very much for today's. I'm sorry for inconvenience sometimes. Sometimes this technical issue occurs. So the thing is that I want to talk today is about the status of the terrorism and insurgency from counter terrorism perspective. Is that I would like to talk about the topics that uh, so the about the background and introduction of myself, and if there would be a necessity for, and then foreign fighters, the ISIS or the ISIS-K and Al Qaeda, Hezbollah, Lashkar, and so on and so forth, in the current scenario in Pakistan, Afghanistan region, and then evolving regional situation and likely future course. And then I will just I will walk you through the counter terrorism and counter violent extremism measures that how we could deal with. So maybe some of you know me that I got my practitioner degrees from two universities, the Maryland University in the States and also Leiden University in the Netherlands, not only in counterterrorism and terrorism, and meantime from in the geopolitics of the South Asian dynamics. So the first thing is that I want to talk is about the foreign fighters. So the ISIS-K and Al Qaeda, Turkestan Islamic Movement, then Harakat al-Ansar al-Hezbollah, Uzbekistan, Hamas, and Lashkar-Taiba. Most of these organizations, as my colleague before, they said that they share almost the same ideology. There's a Salafist ideology, and they have the one foundations that was the Muslim Brotherhood, or the Muslim Brotherhood ideology that was time on years back to even before Cold War. But when the Cold War happened, and then some of the countries they tried to employ these organizations or this ideology to counter the Soviet Union, and that was an opportunity for a bunch of these organizations to get involved in jihadi warfare. So the like Al Qaeda, and also then after that the ISIS or the ISIS-K, or then we have the Islamic Turkestan a movement, and of course, then that we have like local, not only local for the at the regional level, the Lashkar-Taiba organization, which is mainly operating in Afghanistan, Pakistan, in India. Then of course we have Hamas. The Hamas is not only operating in for example in Palestine, and meantime they operate also some of the other Middle Eastern countries. And then we have the Harakat al-Ansar al-Uzbekistan party. This is also a jihadi party, which is or jihadi organization, which derives its ideology from the Salafist or the Salafist ideology. Its main focus in Afghanistan and also the Central Asian countries, and they have the foreign fighters or jihadists in the Middle East countries. So my thinking is about these foreign fighter is that we have two types of the local fighters, and then we have the foreign fighters. So these foreign fighters, they don't have a particular program for a specific country. Rather, they are traveling from one country to another. Just they have the mandate, or they have, for example, the mission to establish the Islamic system, or the Islamic, how can I say, the caliphate or Islamic state, not only in one country or in several countries. And then what I would like to talk about is the current scenario in Pakistan and Afghan region. So of course the situation is a little bit intense, because the Baloch insurgents activities are on the rise. So there is a specific type of for example insurgency in that areas. The insurgency is turning from how can I say, from the civil or political way to the more jihadi or armed struggle, because they think that through the political means they are not able to whatever they're looking for. For example, the establishment of their separate government or separate body or entity. So therefore they are now moving towards the more armed struggle or jihadi sort of terrorism or jihadi like armed struggle. And then of course we have the Tehrik-e-Taliban in Afghanistan and Tehrik-e-Taliban in Pakistan. So the Afghan Taliban, they were able to take over the government, but still the Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan, they're still trying to have their Sharia law and in the at least in the border areas between Afghanistan and Pakistan. And finally, their final goal or motivation would be to have a Sharia-based government in Pakistan. And then, of course, they will try to have the similar copy-paste type of the government from Pakistan to India or to Bangladesh or Sri Lanka or other countries in the neighbor. And of course, there is some sort of incentive behind these organizations or these activities. That is the ISI, the Pakistani notorious, you can say, the intelligence organizations which are involved somehow in smuggling activities, which makes this possible in conjunction with the terrorist organization to use this facility or these activities or join these activities to do it for their own interest, and in the meantime to support, for example, the ISI establishment for funding these jihadi organizations against the United States or against India or against Afghanistan or any other countries. And meantime, they were doing it for their own interest. And of course, back to Afghanistan, there is this. As I said, the government were taken over by the Taliban, but still the Taliban are not a one unity or one unified government or one unified group. There are a bunch of them, specifically the Haqqani network, and then we have the Quetta Council, which is also from the Quetta, from the Hibatullah group. There is all the time power struggle between these two organizations, they both have the support of the regional countries. On top is the Pakistan. And then, of course, there are many splinter groups which are somehow not aligned with the Kabul government of Taliban. And then there would be a possibility for them, when they are not able to operate or be part of the central government, Kabul. And then, of course, there would be an opportunity for them to join, for example, Al-Qaeda, to join the international organization or the international terrorist organization like the ISIS, or of course we have the ISIS-K, or this is they call the ISIS, the Khorasan province for this region. And what else I would like to discuss about the evolving the regional situations, like the Pakistan, as you've seen that in the more like a month or two or more, we see that we observe that a lot of terrorist activities on the rise, and it looks that the Pakistani government is losing its control on not only on the Afghan Taliban they brought to power, and meantime they're losing the control on the other terrorist organizations who were under their control in the past for the couple of decades or so. So it looks they are losing their control over the area. And then the Pakistani Taliban, and also then the Iran, the smuggling route, it becomes more significant for not only for Pakistan and in Afghanistan, and also for the terrorist organizations that they are partaking these in these activities. Even my colleague before said that the Taliban government, they provide the like drugs and narcotics for the terrorist organization in Philippines and also the Asian countries. This is the route from starting from Afghanistan, would then join, for example, Pakistan and then Iran, and then from Iran it goes along to different countries and even to Europe and Central in the Middle East, and then to the rest of the world. Then the most important thing is, in this evolving the regional situation, is the emergence of the cyber propaganda units. As my colleague before said, the cyber propaganda units of these organizations is really on the rise, and they are, through their modules, they are providing the opportunity online for training, for making bombs, for having their ideology trained, and many things that to radicalize individuals, groups, or a bunch of the people who are somehow involved in or interested at least in internet, and they suddenly, or by design, they watch these movies or these sort of the modules that they provide in darknet or even in the public net, and then these people are radicalized and or even self-recruited. However, they don't share, or they don't really join the organizations, but the self-recruitments on rise, specifically in European countries. Many people, or many younger generation, when they watch such a, or they check out such a propaganda programs, and then they are radicalized, and then they apply this radicalized how can I say ideology in practice, and that would be severe for the how can I say the security of the entire region. So there's another thing that I would like to stress upon, is the understanding of Herat game of the Taliban. So Herat is one of the province in the western part of the country, which connects Afghanistan to Iran, and then to Turkmenistan, and somehow to Pakistan and other areas. So this is a significant part of the, or I can say the economic hub of the Taliban, that they are trying to focus on Herat, to establish their government, not only in Afghanistan but also in the region and beyond the region. So what I am interested to discuss about the why Herat is important, as the importance, the junctions between the Afghanistan, Iran, and Turkmenistan. This is the one thing that is important. And in the meantime, the Turkmenistan is one of the country which deal with the Pakistan with the Taliban a little bit smoother, and there is an opportunity for them to be engaged in the future programs. And then, of course, the Taliban are interested in Tapeh, which is the gas pipeline project, which starts from Turkmenistan to then Afghanistan, then to Pakistan and India. And of course, they are interested also to show to the entire region that they are able to provide the security and the possibility to nurture economic engagement in Afghanistan. And also this gives this incentives to India and also to China that to invest in the economic affairs of this country. So the Taliban are trying to make through this engagement and Herat is the first thing is you see that in this picture that proclaims or indicates the economic involvement of the Taliban in this region. And then, of course, the construction projects, they try to construct roads, or build roads and also bridges and pipelines that to make it possible for any party who are interested to join. And then, of course, they are trying to educate the youth and others to accept their ideology and accept their way of thinking. And of course, they are now when anybody is against their way of thinking, and they would be hanged over there. Like you see that they're hanging some people who disobeyed the rule of Taliban or the ideology of Taliban. So then the message the Taliban is trying to give is that the Taliban have a total control of the governance in the region, and the second is the Taliban is committed towards the Islamic Sharia. So they are trying to tell the world that we want a Sharia law or Sharia in Afghanistan, and without the Sharia, it's impossible. However, there is a magnificent pressure on the Taliban to at least to engage in providing the women rights and also basic human rights in Afghanistan. But still they are against that because they say it is against the Sharia law, and even they're against the democratic principles, which is not observed in any country in the world. And in the meantime, the Taliban are trying to say that they are against the narco business. However, they are just dealing with those who are at the local level, or they are a low profile people, but they themselves systematically involved in drugs and narcotics. And then the Taliban are trying to win over the local business communities. So in meantime, they want to win the hearts mind of the local community, but meantime, they're trying to take over the businesses of the local community and take the lead themselves, and then to support financially their engagement in the region from their point of view. And of course, as I said before, they're trying to send a message to India and China and in other countries that Afghanistan is a safe haven for economic engagement and opportunity. So what else I would like to talk is about the future course of the development. So of course, this is the India. You see that the Indian increase of the armed attacks in Jammu and Kashmir is after the Taliban took over, and then the enhancement of the Islamic and right-wing radicalization and in the larger recruitment of the terrorist groups or organizations on the rise in India. There are a lot of organizations, they are trying to recruit Indian nationals, and meantime, there are right-wing radicalization groups like the Hindus, and they are trying to curb that. So there is a scenario between two radicalized, the right-wing Hindu radicalized groups, and then we have the Islamic radicalized groups that they are now the situation is really engulfed. And then, of course, the increase in the use of Indian land as a sanctuaries by Al Qaeda affiliates groups. There we have the bunch of the affiliates groups in India. They are somehow affiliated to either to Al Qaeda or to ISIS. But down the road, they are involved in this Salafist ideology. And of course, then I will move to Sri Lanka. So in Sri Lanka as well, the regroup of the Islamic groups and radicalization is on the rise. And specifically, some of the organizations are taking advantage because the Chinese have invested heavily in Sri Lanka harbors or ports, and then some groups like the Islamic like Uyghurs groups or other ISIS affiliated groups, they think that China is a threat for before them, and they are trying to start the recruitments in Sri Lanka, and of course down the road there would be a huge I mean tassels in Sri Lanka will happen. And then I will move to Bangladesh. Then they, of course, the radicalization campaign is on the rise of this Wahhabi, Sunni Wahhabi groups or the Salafist groups, as I said. And then you see that the long duration street jamming, and every day it's possible that every day it happens in Bangladesh that the groups are jamming the roads and streets and calling for Sharia law or things like that. Or then the religious-based mob violence is on the rise in Bangladesh or in the country as a Bangladesh to establish Sharia law in that country. And this will also make it possible for lone wolf attack. You see that there, or the small team attack. You see that from time to time that you see some of the people or the politicians or even some of the media guys, they are attacked and killed by these mobs or these religious-based violence activities, and down the road we see that a sort of instability, political instability, may happen in Bangladesh as well. So then I will quickly move to the Maldives, and of course in Maldives the youth are likely to be provoked by the online joining international jihadi outfits or units. As I said before, the cyber propaganda units are on the rise, and they are heavily engaged in social medias, and they using also mass media, social media to recruit more and more people, and that will be the case for Maldives as well. That the youth generation would be radicalized, and they will engage in the radical, or you could say that in jihadi activities. And then I will quickly move to Nepal, and of course in Nepal as well, the Al Qaeda and also the ISIS recruitments they are attempting to engage more Muslims in the Terai region of Nepal, who are, of course, the Muslims is a minority there, but still there are a lot of people are interested because they think that in Nepal that these minorities are disengaged from the mainstream politics or the central government, and they use this less engagement or this sidelining them as a grievance, and then they tell the youth that when we get it, when we are looking for example, justice, then we have to join. You have to join us because we provide with the alternative. And then I will quickly move to Myanmar. So of course in Myanmar is as well the Al-Qaeda and ISIS affiliates and Pakistani-based radical Salafist organization is likely to attempt the low intensity attacks in Indian and also the Chinese assets in that country. And you see that from time to time that we see some sort of warfare in the border areas between China, between Myanmar and China, and then between Myanmar and also India. So these are the radical organizations that they think that the Chinese investment in Myanmar or the Chinese economic how can I say, the involvement in the global affairs that will provide actually an issue before these jihadi organizations, and therefore they are actively participating in some sort of jihad activities in Myanmar. And then of course in Thailand, so these are the like as I said, these the jihadi organizations like radical Salafist organizations, or also the ETIM or the East Turkestan Islamic Movement sympathizers. They're trying to involve in a joint operation in Bangkok or surrounding areas. They're trying to get the people radicalized and then turn over the Thailand to like a situation that we how can I say, that we experience in Afghanistan. So then I will quickly move to Philippines. My colleague, she focused a lot on that. I don't want to say a lot of them, but still I can say that in Philippines as well, that the Taliban plus Al-Qaeda and ISIS, and then of course plus I want to stress plus the Pakistani intelligence organization ISI middles are likely to radicalize Filipinos. So the Filipino nationals working specifically, and according to the intelligence information, the nationals are working in Gulf countries like the UAE. They are working a bunch of them in Qatar and some other countries. These organizations are trying to approach these guys, and most of these Filipinos are working in a huge free or 5 to 7 star hotels and restaurants. And then when they are engaged or recruited, that would be very easy for them to attack the guests. Specifically, the guests, they are coming at a high level from the United States, from UK, European countries, or any other countries, and of course about the actions about the Quran, Ashia, Hamadan. That would be the case for that. And now we talk a lot about the terrorism. Now I would like to talk about the counterterrorism. How could we counter it? So we have two approaches. Today I do want to address both of that. One is the counterterrorism measures. I mean the traditional one, and then we have the counterterrorism from the counter violent extremism approach. So the first thing is that from the counterterrorism measures is of course surveillance, intelligence, policing. These are the efforts that they're trying to locate which organizations or which group or individuals are involved in radical theories or radicalizations, and then they find them. And then the first thing is that they do is they arrest them or imprisonment them. And then, of course, there is a little bit severe, like decapitations and killing them, or capture and kill them. And of course, there is the de-radicalization program as well, but sometimes it does not work, because when you arrest these guys and put them in jail or put them in prison and then start to de-radicalize them, at the case of the Saudi Arabia did, or some other countries, in my mind is that the de-radicalization cannot happen in jails and prisons, because the present situation or the jail situation is like it encouraged more the prisoners to be radicalized and rather to be de-radicalized, because as I said, if you think the situation like in prison, like Dr. Ayman al-Zawahiri, he was a political scholar, he was a professor, or he was a doctor, things like that. But he was not radicalized to be engaging in armed activities. But when he was arrested by the Egyptian government, and then they put him in jail for some years, and this situation in jail turned him to be radicalized. And the same happens to people like how can I say, Zarqawi. Zarqawi was not radicalized. Of course, he met Osama bin Laden in Afghanistan, and then he went back to Jordan, and Jordanian government arrested him and put him in jail. And the situation in jail turned him to be a radicalized person. When he came out of the jail, and you know that the founder of the ISIS is the Zarqawi, and you see that the Zarqawi made that possible to the ISIS. So from my point of view, this traditional way does not work. So that would be the counterproductive. So, and then we have the profiling. So this is also from my point of view, or my research shows that is a negative, because the profiling people based on race, based on appearance, based on a background, these profiling does not work, because it has changed a lot. So we think, for example, the terrorists should be only Muslims, or the terrorists should be only from Asian countries, or the terrorists could be Africans, or the terrorists would look like they have a long beard or have a turban on it. This is wrong. Does not work from my point of view, because today's terrorists, even I see that the European terrorists, they drink alcohol, they go to clubs and whatever, and they show to the entire world that they are not, for example, radicalized. But you will experience down the road, or at the end of the day, they blow themselves. So I mean that the profiling the terrorists based on race, based on a background, based on a gender, this is really I think it's negative, and it does not work. And of course, this is something that we have as a preventive measure. And of course, we have after when a terrorist activity or a terrorist attack happened, then we have the fear management in case. This is the part of the traditional counterterrorism measure when a bomb is lost and something happened, and then as a course of the fear management, the government is trying to calm down the people, and for example, when there is a bloodshed or something like that, the government immediately intervene and clear the area and open the area again to the business and everything, that to tell to the society that they are under control and they are not afraid, because the terrorism, the only measure the terrorism or the terrorist organization would like to share or to spread is fear. And when we try to convince the people that they are not feared by spreading fear by the terrorists, and this is the way how we manage fear. And of course, this resilience, we have to be resilient. We have to stand on our knee again and telling the terrorist organization that we are not afraid of you, and we're ready to go to work. We go to universities, schools, college, and whatever we want to do, and say that is a no to you. And then I will quickly move to the counter-violent extremism measures. And from our point of view, as a four phases. The phase number one is the intervention. So we have to intervene when we see when someone is engaged in some sort of this process. From my point of view, this is a process. the radicalism is a process. The first stage is that to be introduced to a group, and then to accept the ideology, and then to be indoctrinated, and then to accept the extreme part of this ideology, and then turn this ideology or the thinking into practice, which moves beyond that to the terrorism, which is a tactic to approach or to signify their ideology. So the first thing is the intervention. We have to intervene through the family, through the whatever mean that we feel that someone is acting abnormal, or somehow he's interested in sort of ideologies. The first thing is that the family, so the family should report, or he himself self-report, or the family should report. When the family does not report, then the friends and colleagues should report. If they don't report, then we have to find the best possible way that how to engage in this and find them the possibility to intervene, and we have to stop that there. And then, of course, as a preventive measures, we have to prevent them for happening in activities like the terrorist activity or terrorist attack or more radicalization. We have to prevent them. Well, how could we prevent them? Is that through the community engagement, through the police and civilian working together, through NGOs, through like universities, through colleges, through mosques, through churches. They have to try to bring these people, invite these people for meetings, for discussions, and to provide them with alternative. So what is the reasons they joined, for example, a terrorist organization? What was the reason they joined a radical group? So you find that whether these grievances are economics, whether these grievances are, for example, they are sidelined from the family, from the community, or they are not engaged in a political situation, things like that. When we find that out, and then we provide them with alternative, like when the youth are radicalized, we have to provide them, for example, if we provide them with the opportunity that he goes to school, that he can go to a university, or he can join like a football club or soccer club or things like that. That would be a preventive way that how could we prevent. And then, of course, we have to move to the rehabilitations and introducing the alternative. As I said, we have to try in this way, and this way would be to rehabilitate or de-radicalize them through this process, as I said. And then, of course, we would like to we will try to reintegrate these guys to the society. So what is my point of view is that we cannot capture and kill. We cannot destroy them. We cannot put them in prison. But my research shows that through the intervention, prevention, and then rehabilitation phases, that we are able to de-radicalize these individuals or groups, and then reintegrate them to the society, reintegrate them to the market, reintegrate them to the political system. That would be the best possible measure that we could get rid of the terrorism or combating terrorism, not through the traditional way of the counterterrorism, rather a more modern way of countering violent extremism measures. So that was my points that today I had it for you, and I hope that there would be some question. Of course, there would be some question, and thank you very much for your attention. So of course, that's if someone is interested in contact me, then I put here my cell number, WhatsApp, and Skype, website, my homepage, and also I have my own Substack, and so someone's interested, then can apply that and contact me. So again, the last part, the last slide will be thank you again, and thank you very much, Professor Wiki, and also all the participants, the organizers, and also the sponsors of this Young Scholar Symposium. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ajmal, for your kind presentation. It gives us a horizon about situations there. And thank you, every one of us already still in the Zoom meeting. And thank you to Anand already joined us. And I'd like to invite our next panel, Anand Mishra from University of South Wales, UK, to present his kind work about the topic. Without further ado, thankfully, I would like to invite Anand.
Thank you so much. I'm sorry, I'm doing this in a restaurant. So are you audible? Are you able to hear me?
Sure, go ahead, Anand.
Okay, thank you so much. I was really intrigued by my previous speaker, so I would like to make a few corrections, if I may say so. I am in Sri Lanka right now, and I have spoken to the entire hierarchy, the intelligence institutions, security apparatuses. There is no ISIS, there is no Daesh, there is no Al Qaeda, there is nothing here in Sri Lanka. So we as scholars must be careful when we are making an accusation against a republic, against a democratic state of without presenting facts. Second, I was the chief of South Asia division before I became the chief of West Asia in India. And there is no recruitment in Al Qaeda happening in India. Al Qaeda is facilitated entirely as I would say, as a merely an advisory capacity after Haqqani. So Haqqani is brought Al Qaeda as merely as advisors. So after the death of the last Al Qaeda leader, so what I'm trying to bring out is we must be very careful on making such assumptions on the basis of I really don't know what. So not going into the argument of what is right or what is not. Let me open up my presentation. I don't have a presentation per se, but it's very interesting time in 2024. We are in January, and we are already completed January. We are in early February. Elections will take place this year in India, Indonesia, Korea, Mongolia, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, and 3 Pacific Island nations. And Mongolia will be the first, to include both direct and proportional representations. The decentralization continue to make news in Nepal and Indonesia. In more than one country, elections are entangled with issues of religious nationalism. Now, we are also seeing in Asia the lingering effects of COVID economic downturn. Several nations still face the trouble ahead for different reasons, including Pakistan, Sri Lanka, and Timor-Leste. Now, in addition to this, ladies and gentlemen, we also see in Southeast Asia, Laos will assume the chair of ASEAN this year, while Vietnam has just elevated its diplomatic relations with geopolitical rivals, China and the United States. Thailand has achieved an uneasy political equilibrium, whereas we see the neighboring tensions in Myanmar. There is rising tension between Afghanistan and Pakistan, the wars in the Ukraine and the Middle East, the threat of climate disruption, and the possibility of a global recession that is currently fueling the anxiety among the capitals. So let us take some turn by turn and see what Afghanistan is offering. So from the turn of the Taliban rule, Afghanistan has seen some security improvements. But then there is escalating challenges, unemployment, widespread migration, economic hardship that continues to exist. Significant concerns continues to exist. The women's rights, again, there are persistent restrictions, severely constraining their access to education. Taliban does continue to reluctant to discuss inclusivity in the Afghanistan government. Doesn't see the light of the day. It remains unrecognized. The political participation to religious loyalists and Taliban fighters, there's undermining domestic undermining the domestic social cohesion, intensifying tensions among the non-Taliban factions, those seeking representations. Now, it is also crucial that there's a civil society, political figures, women and minority be included, but then it doesn't seem to look at that way. Addressing these multifaceted challenges demands a coordinated approach. The neighboring nations emphasizes the need for collective engagement with Taliban. The Taliban leadership is also essential to establishing an inclusive government, which it doesn't talk about. So this will require a political process, and I'm not too sure in the 2024 that I foresee that political process is going to begin, because it will involve an impartial engagement within all Afghan factions to not only engage with each other, but also something to be facilitated by larger nations or a responsible stakeholder, including the United Nations. Such an effort will pave the way for a more promising future for Afghanistan. Now, talking about Bangladesh, the elections, were there were rumors that it was largely uncontested. Voters in Bangladesh returned the ruling Awami League to power for an unprecedented fifth term. The absence of the major opposition party from the electoral processes does raise concerns about what the inclusiveness of this democratic exercise was. There are allegations. There are all countless allegations up in the electoral phase. The nation does navigate through political terrain, economic downturn, threat of a financial crisis looming. Beyond this, Bangladesh does find itself in the intersection of a geopolitical, I would say, a contestation of superpowers in the nation strategically. Tension between the global powers could further complicate the domestic situation, potentially aggravating what the country's economic and political challenges are. Bangladesh does stand at its critical juncture, and hence the interplay of elections, economics, and geopolitics will undoubtedly shape the nation's trajectory. Let's come to Cambodia. And in Cambodia last July, the Cambodian people elected a sort of younger leaders who promised to pursue their mandate. 100 days of milestone of the new government was now passed. And there has been many examples of increased consultation, dialogue between development partners, civil society, private sector, academia, which increased the engagement generally. Boards as well. Cambodia strives to meet new challenges in 2024. That said, we are still lingering on from the armed conflict in Ukraine, the Middle East, and elsewhere, which has significantly disrupted the Cambodian economy. To mitigate the risk, the government did prioritize improving livelihoods, public service delivery, social protection measures, while the World Bank predicted that Cambodia's economy will grow to 4.8% in 2024, but it is yet to be seen in its economic posture. There's a pentagonal strategy which seeks to achieve upper middle income status by 2030, but the target is highly ambitious, and it is highly unlikely that it will be able to achieve half of it. But 70% of the nations does need renewable sources, creating more opportunities, younger people for younger people through better and formal education. Now, let me come to Indonesia. Now, for Indonesia, 2024 will actually be I would say, an year of dominated by politics. Third largest democracy, sixth nationwide elections. Since democracy was restored in '98, February 14th, 200 million Indonesians are expected to cast their votes. There are 820,000 polling stations to elect the president. The political competition is intense. Controversial issue. Has one of the controversial issues been the Supreme Court ruling, minimum age, presidential and vice presidential candidates, enabling Jokowi's son to join the contest of the running mate for the running mate Subianto. Now, the two candidates, the governor of Jakarta, Anies Baswedan, and former governor of Central Java, Gunjar Pranowo. Now, presidential runoff election is expected to be in June, as it is likely that any candidate will win more than 50%. Now, elections for chief executives in 548 localities will be held in November. There's a lot to achieve in 2024. So, Indonesia's economic outlook will be a bit brighter if I refer to that. It is highly likely for the economy to grow beyond 4.9%. By an average of 4.9% per year, that is 2024 to 2026. Private consumption will be primary engine of growth. Experience from 2014 and 2019 elections suggests that the consumption rises in election periods, and the economic impact may be substantial. Coming to Korea,
Thank you, Anand. Would you like to text me through the chat box your topic, and to make it here in the rundown of our program. I would like to invite Prof. Sida Sonsri of Thailand. She will present in terms of the region situation here in Southeast Asia. So it will expand our horizon. Prof. Mimi, Prof. Philippines, Ajmal in the side of ASEAN, Pakistan, Bangladesh, India, and Prof. Sida from Thailand. Without further ado, I would like to thank to Prof. Sida and time is yours, Prof.
Thank you, Professor Ismail. Because I noticed that most of you speak on the terrorism and Taliban that will affect about 40 something years ago. But I would like to know that how to bring peace if there is a terrorism, right? But no one talk about that now. Every country, this is a globalization, right? Globalization. And now every country will compete in economic development, but terrorism will damage the economy. In this globalization, there are three globalization, like three type of globalization, like economic globalization, political globalization, and cultural globalization. We have to deal with this matter, and we have to interdependence among all of countries in the world. You know, so now we must be careful with the terrorism, because in this globalization, we are free. So everybody free. You can go to any country free. So we should be careful about terrorism. But I think now every country concerned about economy than terrorism now. Because terrorism is 40 years ago, something like that. If we talk about cultural terrorism, it will refers to the transmission of ideas, meaning, values around the world. This is, I think, this is the important of the terrorism. They will present all of the country like that. But now we are concentrate on the economy than the terrorism. I don't know what do you think about that? I prepared I concern about the Philippines. I study the Philippine studies, and I know that Philippines is successful in the Bangsa-Moro Autonomous Muslim region. But why? I don't know how to bring peace in Bangsa-Moro. How to bring peace in Bangsa-Moro? Because Bangsa-Moro, they are fighting 48 years ago, and now they are success. They are success already. They are autonomous already. So in the Philippines, they are sub-states now. They are chief minister, sub-state. So if we would like to bring peace in the Philippines, they organize all of the office of the president advisor and Moro Islamic Liberation Front, civil society government, and people and most of civil society over there. And I think the good one is how to bring peace. So you have to organize all of these organizations to cooperate each other, and you can bring peace. This is why Bangsa-Moro Autonomous Muslim region will success in Bangsa-Moro now. There are no fighting now because I was going there 2 months ago. They improve they are not afraid of the terrorism or Taliban at all, no? So we have to concentrate about this also, because terrorism is a history already now, but they will impact the economy of the country. If you should be careful with that also, because this is a globalization era. They are free. Every country will be free. So uh, we will know nobody in the country that will know that this is a terrorism, or there is no terrorism like that. Even the China, even the US, and every country. So we should be about that. So I, I, I'm more concerned on in economic than the terrorism now. But we must be careful. Terrorism, it will impact the globalization like that. So this is volunteers of the government during the Aquino time, and they cooperate with the civil society and with the international society also. They cooperate each other, So that's why there's a success now. So this is a model of success that we introduce to Thailand, but Thailand cannot accept because they said we have no group. We have no group. We don't know that group that will do the insurgency in the south. So, but in the Philippines, we know already that there are two groups, so we can negotiate with them. This is different between the two countries. So Thailand cannot do, but the Philippines can do now, and they improve a lot. That I was going to the south, that's 2 months ago. They improve a lot of them, and the government put the budget on that, to help them. Yes. So that you talk about terrorism and Taliban, those time, I don't know, but I I am concentrated more on economic culture, economic and culture now. Like India, they said India look east, India act east. If India if India is successful, it will come to the Southeast Asia all. India act east now. India act east also, but I don't know that India is successful or not like that. But India, they said that they will go to Southeast Asia by culture, because in Southeast Asia we have culture of Southeast Asia that affect that. So that is India Act East. But unlike China, because China that they are more on the infrastructure than the culture, than the cross tie with the country uh, uh, 3 or 4,000 years ago, like that. I think we should concern that. Yes, this is my and the other one is PPP, public private partnership. We should do about that if we are strength on that. So no terrorism can impact on this one, on the economy of the country. Yeah, PPP is very important. We should be build this in a compact one. Will be in a strength one in each country. Yeah. Thailand we have this, but it's not very strength. But Singapore they have that. Malaysia they have that. Indonesia also. Yeah. Yes. I will finish my my speak on that. Are we not concerned with terrorism more than the globalization era? What globalization era will be impact on terrorism? Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Prof. Sida. It is a kind of range of horizon our speaking for these sessions because we already listen to Prof. Mimi, Ajmal, Asnan, and the last one from Sida, Prof. Sida. And it ranged from Philippines, Thailand, in some area of Asia. And then since Ajmal can give us the perspective from Pakistan, India, and Bangladesh. And then this is the end of our sessions. I would like to invite every one of us to give the closing statement as the clue or anything to close our session. I will start from Prof. Mimi. Would you like to have closing statement, Prof?
Thank you very much, Dr. Ismail Suardi Weke, for this kind invitation, and to Dr. Professor Christian Kaunert of the University of South Wales. The Philippine jihadist actors are currently a serious security issue for the country. However, the Philippine government has outlined legal as well as government control strategies in order to counter violence and terrorism in the Mindanao area of our country. Professor Sida Sonsri was correct in saying that the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region of Muslim Mindanao is very peaceful now. However, the presence of private armed groups still pose a security threat to the region.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Mimi. Would you like to say something as the closing statement, Dr. Ajmal? Yeah, it seems that Dr. Ajmal is having another activity. So, Prof. Sida, would you like to say something for closing statement?
I'm glad to be here, and thank you for your deep analysis of terrorism and Taliban. Thank you so much.
So I'm back. Do you hear me? Hello?
Sure, Prof. Sure, Doctor. Go ahead.
Okay. Great. So in order to answer my colleague before, so that was like a counterattack of my statement. Let me answer that, and a part of that will have my last statement. So from my point of view, we have the three type of the terrorist organizations or theorists or radical groups. So with the psychological, then we have ideological, and then we have tactical. What I'm talking is we have, of course, from psychological point of view, some people may like some person or may not like, or may like a system or may not like a system, and therefore, from psychological point of view, he's interested to engage in armed struggle to attain what he's looking for. And then, of course, we have the ideological. For a certain ideology, some people are doing something for certain ideologies, whether that is Salafist ideology, whether that is communist ideology, whether that is the racist ideology, whatever ideologies, they are motivated and they were doing it for the sake of their ideology. What I'm really concerned is about the tactical terrorism, which, to answer my colleague before, some organizations are employed by the other governmental authorities, groups, or bodies for tactical achievement. So why I'm talking about the Sri Lanka, these groups are starting recruitment not for the ideology, not for psychology, but for tactical reasons. Some other countries which hates, for example, the progress of China or involvement of China and Sri Lanka or other nations in the region, they are employing these organizations for tactical interest. And that is the result of what is happening. And again, what the intelligence community told that this guy, I mean, my colleague before, that nothing happens in Sri Lanka, they are totally lying. For the 20 years, for the 30 years, the American CIA is lying that the terrorism is, they were able to crack down on terrorism. And after 25 years of war in Afghanistan and Iraq and other Middle East countries, but still the terrorism is on the rise, and you see that nothing has been changed. And even the United States is now bankrupt. They spend $4 trillion and then they don't have this energy to fight, to engage in many fronts. Of one front that would be the terrorism. So the intelligence, they have stake in lying, they have stake in terrorism as well. We had it also in Afghanistan. If the intelligence community work well and according to the norms and procedures and a process, and according to their liability, then we wouldn't have a terrorist attacks. But they are lying all the time. So when the terrorism, when things like that is done for the political purposes, then of course they will tell you that is a paradise, nothing happened, but in reality is something else. So what I'm telling, because of the lack of the time, I was not able to elaborate each individual country. That I was warned that my time is I mean a maximum of 30 minutes, and therefore I was not able to provide you with a tangible evidence. Otherwise I will provide you with the how can I classified information, even the recording between some the organizations or individuals in Sri Lanka and individuals in Afghanistan or in Pakistan, then how they are motivated to engage in the terrorist organization or terrorist things. But again, coming back to the last point, the only things that we could do is that we have to prevent, we have to intervene, and we have to rehabilitate, and we have to re-engage these terrorists or the past terrorists to a normal citizen. Then we would have peace, then we have democracy, and then we have the economic prosperity. Thank you.
Thank you to everyone. For those who are joining us here in Zoom Live, thank you to Prof. Mimi, Prof. Sida, Dr. Ajmal, and Dr. Mishra Hasnant, and Prof. Christian Kauner for already come up here. And for those who are joining on YouTube, if you have any kind of comment, feel free to write over there, and I will send forward to friend of us in the sessions. I would like to thank to everyone make this session successful. For those who are in European country, is still morning going to afternoon, and then thank you very much. And then we will see you for the last session, roundtable discussion, and 1:30 on the London time for the roundtable discussion as the wrapping up and the follow up of the symposium. Thank you very much. Have a nice
Thank you, Professor
afternoon,
Ismail.
everyone.
Yeah.
Prof. Sida,
Thank
Dr.
you.
Thank
Ajmal,
you,
Prof.
Dr.
Mimi, and
Ismail.
everyone.
Thank
I
you,
would like
Professor
to
Ismail.
end of the